us. Bravely we prove in our striving, trudging together each day. Where there's a will, there's a way.
The views and opinions expressed on Trudging Together are solely those of the host, co-host, and our guests. They do not necessarily reflect the views of any organization, fellowship, or other entity, and definitely not your boss, your neighbor, or that one guy in your home group. The content of this program is not intended to replace medical, psychological, or professional advice. If you're looking for that, please seek guidance from qualified professionals who spent way too many years in school. What you'll hear here is based on lived experience, recovery journeys, and the occasional bad coffee-fueled joke. Trudging Together is not affiliated with any 12-step fellowship. We are simply people sharing our stories and walking this path together, one day at a time. Thank you for joining us, and remember, recovery is serious business, but that doesn't mean we can't laugh along the way.
Sober Sundays. Sober Sundays. Yep. Sunday, and you're sober. That's all you need. Doesn't take much to qualify for Sober Sunday. You don't even need to be an alcoholic. You can have Sober Sunday. Yeah, you can. So, for anybody that's non-alcoholic that listens to this, I'm sure I have a few. Alcohol's just bad for you, man. There are no good things to alcohol. It does not do you any good. Anyway, of course, a little bit ain't gonna really hurt you either. But your little bit and my little bit are probably a lot different. A little bit to me is like 7 or 8. For you, that's like 7 or 8 sips, right? All right, my main listeners are traveling right now, so I don't think we're gonna see them. So it's just gonna be us today. We'll see if we get some more people here. So my finger's still been triggering at night, and it shouldn't be. After 3 weeks, it should not be triggering. In fact, it's worse. It's triggering now than it was worse than it was. So send a message to the doctor. It's Sunday. I'm not going to hear anything. I'll just have to get through today. And they moved up my appointment to the 9th, but that's not soon enough. They got to see me. They have to see me now. And this is where we need to learn how to advocate. If I need to, I will just show up and sit in their frickin' office. I will. I'll do it. Now, the thing is, they're not listening. That's what's ticking me off, is they're not listening to me. They think I'm just being difficult and pill seeking and everything else, and that's not what's going on. I've been taking my meds according. They gave me some tramadol, which is, yeah, okay. It helps with the pain. You don't feel anything off of it. So, but still, it's an opiate, and yeah, so we gotta be careful there, right? So it's that balance. Gotta find it. All right. But anyway, yeah, drugs are bad, kids. All right. Thank God I have laugh tracks since somebody's here. Not that I could ever hear you laughing, but let's do Dion's Daily Funnies, kind of get this started. It's been a long time since I blanked out, but it looks like the planets have aligned like they did last night. Are you ready? You ready for Dion's Daily Funnies? Let me hear it. Yes, we're ready. All right. Why did the jaguar eat the tightrope walker? It was craving a well-balanced meal. What is a knight's favorite fish? A swordfish. What do you call a sleeping bull? A bulldozer. Why wouldn't the shrimp share his treasure? Because he was a little shellfish. A little shellfish. All right. It keeps showing too many ads here, so we're done. What is going on with Jim Carrey's face? What is up with that? I think he's fucking around. I think he's doing something weird. What is it with all these actors and everybody? They look horrible. Their cheeks are sunken in. They look like the Night of the Living Dead, man. Like Kelly Osbourne, man. Do these people think that's good looking? Yeah, the skinniness. What is this? I am so glad that I'm 55 and don't have to date any of that ugliness. Stop it. Wow. Oh, ugh. You look like fools. I would never want to look like that. Icky. All right. Dion's opinion. Enough of it, huh? All right. Welcome to Daily Trudge. And they can do all that and get everything all done, but I can't get my trigger finger done. All right. Okay. And let's remember that actors and musicians and stuff, they're there to entertain us. That is their job. Other than that, they need to shut up. All right. Shut up. All right. Good. I'm glad you know how to read from a script and act, but that's as good as it gets. If you're here, please say hello, whether watching the live or the rewatch. Hey, I like my fair share of actors. I do. All right. But I never really I've been starstruck once. And it was Halle Berry. It was Halle Berry I got starstruck with. All right. I didn't think, everybody, she's so hot. I'm like, yeah, she's a pretty lady. But you meet her in person, it's almost awe-inspiring. It is. What a beautiful, beautiful human being she is. Yeah. I wouldn't even know what to say. It'd probably come out. Abba dabba dabba da ba ba. All right. So we're going to be reading from step 3 today. Today is the first day of March. I looked at today's daily reflection. It was 2 words long. I'm like, that is going to be awfully hard to speak on for 40 minutes. I think it works. It really does. So it's 5 words long. All right. But it's true. It does work. But I figure I'd get it started off with step 3 since the beginning of the month. I figure I'd cover it before you went to all your meetings this month, and they were all on step 3. Or close to it. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. If you'd like to follow along, I'm in the 12 by 12 on page 34. So step 3 is we made a decision to turn our will and our lives over the care of God as we understood him. So made a decision. This is the last of the non-action steps. Okay. This is where the rubber is going to start to meet the road. Step 3 is extremely important. It's a very personal step, right? But when you make the decision, it doesn't require much action, maybe asking, right? And what are we doing? This is where in the big book it talks about half measures avail us nothing. That is step 3, and they're talking about step 3 in that. So a half measure here is not going to do much good. Give it a try. Okay. Step 3 is like jumping off a cliff, hoping that the hand of your higher power will catch you. That's what it's like. It's scary. It's very much faith driven. Do you have trust? We're developing trust here. All right. Now, thankfully, we don't have to have complete trust or even a lot of trust or even a little bit of trust, because we can start with something else. We can start with willingness, another non-action word. Let's get to it. Practicing step 3 is like the opening of a door, which to all appearances is still closed and locked. That's because it is closed and locked. It has been shut by your self-will. It is your attitude that opens and shuts this door. How much willingness do you have? All right. All we need is a key and the decision to swing the door open. There is only one key, and it is called willingness. Yep. There's just one key. Okay. This comes with your spiritual toolbox. Okay. Now, all you need is the key and a decision to swing the door open. Well, you get this key. Where do you get this key from? Sponsorship. Your sponsor has gone through the first 2 steps with you, and they probably asked you at some point, are you willing to go to any length? You made the agreement, yes, I'm willing to go to any length. Well, now we're going to get started. All right. Once unlocked by willingness, the door opens almost of itself, and looking through it, we shall see a pathway which is an inscription. It reads, "This is the way to faith that works." All right. And why is it? Why is it a faith that works? Because it's your decision. It is your decision here that is changing this, right? In the first 2 steps, we are engaged in reflection. We saw we were powerless over alcohol, but we also perceive that some perceive that faith of some kind, if only in AA itself, is possible to anyone. These conclusions did not require action; they only required acceptance, right? And what are they saying? That these 3 steps didn't require any action, right? When I have my sponsees, I don't give them homework. If it's not in the big book, it ain't happening. It doesn't say anywhere in the big book, have your sponsor do this, sponsor you. No, it doesn't say that. That has come from other people's stuff, which is not in the big book. Okay. Steps 1, 2, and 3 are non-action steps, period. And they're for a reason. So when we as sponsors add action into that, what we're really doing is trying to take control. Well, no, I just want them to see how bad their alcoholism is. Do you? You mean alcohol didn't administer the beating that they needed? It doesn't need to be driven into my head every day that I'm alcoholic and how bad I am and how horrible I am. Come on. Let's get down to the cause and condition. You're the recovered alcoholic. Get down to the cause and condition for them. Give it to them. Help them out. This isn't a secret. Okay? Not a secret. So stop handing out homework on steps 1, 2, and 3. They're non-action. It even says it right here. The conclusions did not require action. They only required acceptance. Right? Like all remaining steps, step 3 calls for affirmative action. For it is only by action that we can cut away the self-will which has blocked the entry of God, or, if you like, a higher power into our lives. Right? So, AA is based off the 6 tenets of the Oxford group. We have 12 steps. Right here, okay, like all remaining steps, step 3 calls for affirmative action. They put a preparation step in front of every single one of them to help us out. Yes, they did. All right? Because when it comes to the Oxford group tenets, 1 is the only non-action step, is the only non-action tenet. Powerless over alcohol, that life was unmanageable, yes. Okay? Faith, to be sure, is necessary, but faith alone can avail nothing. Yeah. We can have faith, yet keep God out of our lives. Therefore, our problem now becomes just how and by what specific means shall we be able to let him in. Step 3 represents our first attempt to do this. In fact, the effectiveness of the whole AA program will rest upon how well and earnestly we have come to a decision to turn our will and our lives over the care of God as we understood it. Yes, the rest of the program is going to rely upon this step. Okay. Now, I'm going to cover my experience in this. And, I found, like I said earlier, I found step 3 to be a very personal step. And I have found that usually people meet God alone. Yes. At least the people I have worked with. All right. There needs to be a feeling, a change. Now, some people do step 3 and go right into step 4. I don't do that. See, we meet each week. If we're done with step 3, we're done with that. Because I want you to spend a little bit of time with God before stepping into step 4. What am I waiting for? Dion, I feel different. Something's a little different. Okay. See, that's it. Right there. Dion, it's a little different. Because by this point, they're going to need to find their higher power. And we alcoholics need to give it names for some reason, right? And God isn't one that we always really like. That's okay. You are not required to use God. God don't care. That's a man-made name anyway. For all I know, his name is Schwedelbeezy. Okay? For all I know, that's his actual name. I don't know. So let's remember, these are just words. Okay? It is the actions. It is the thought processes. It is the asking of help. This is what matters. Okay? Give it a try. If it doesn't work for you, okay, this is for all my listeners. If you're new, try the program for 3 months. If it is not working out for you, feel free to reach out to me and I will write you a receipt for your misery and you can go on your merry way. Okay? Give it a try. You're at 3 months is not very long in the grand scheme of life, man. And you're worth at least trying it for 3 months. 3 months isn't that long, is it? Well, when you think about not drinking alcohol, it sounds like for fucking ever. So, how about today? How about a week? A week. You want to try a week? We do that. You don't have to do it alone. You don't have to do it alone. But you do need to find your higher power. And I found giving it a name. All right. A couple weeks ago, I was helping a sponsee with their sponsee. Just couldn't get to the 4th step. Something blocking him. He hadn't found his higher power yet. Step 3 was not completed. And I could tell by the way he was talking. So I asked a few questions. I'm like, we need to name your higher power. Let's find your higher power, man. It's not that hard. We just need to figure out something that's bigger than you. We talked a little about it. I'm like, okay, how about, do you believe that? Let me ask you this. Do you believe that if you do good things will happen? If you do bad things will happen? Do you believe that? He said, yeah. I said, that's karma. And that's bigger than you. There you go. Start there. Okay? That was about 2-3 weeks ago. Now he's saying God. And he's almost done with his 4th step. This step is extremely important. And it shouldn't be skimmed. It shouldn't be skimped. And if somebody needs a little bit of time to find their higher power and do that 4th step, give it to them. Why? Because it says it in here. There is a direction. At least that's how I take it, right? If we go to page, all right. We're now at step 3. We found it very desirable to take this spiritual step with an understanding person such as our wife, best friend, or spiritual advisor. But it is better to meet God alone than with someone who might misunderstand. Now, alcoholics look for reasons for you to misunderstand. They look for reasons. So they're going to look for it here. They can't help it. It is part of our nature. This is still a bad habit that we have. The defiance. I went through it too. I did not want to meet God with somebody else. I wanted to do it alone. It was very, very personal for me. The wording was, of course, quite optional so long as we express the idea without voicing it without reservation. This, and then listen to this. This was only a beginning, though if honestly and humbly made, an effect. An effect. Sometimes a very great one was felt at once. Now, sometimes it happens at once. Yay, and you did it with your sponsor or whatever, and it worked. But you got to give somebody a chance to find their own higher power first. Do not rush people through this step. We got time. All right. So that's my take on kind of doing the third step with other people. To every worldly and practical minded beginner, this step looks hard, even impossible. Well, there's no action to it, but I get it. It's like all of me. Well, then what's going to happen to me? Legitimate question. Am I going to become the hole in the donut? Am I going to become a non-entity? Is that what's going to happen to me? All right. No, that is not what's going to happen. Although it might feel that way a little bit. No matter how much one wishes or try, exactly how can he turn his will and his life over to the care of a God, of whatever God he thinks there is? Fortunately, we who have tried it and with equal misgivings can testify that anyone at all can begin to do it. Yes. We can further add that a beginning, even the smallest, is all that is needed. Once we have placed the key of willingness in the lock and have the door ever so slightly open, we find we can always open it some more. Though self-will may slam it shut again, as it frequently does, it will always respond the moment we pick up, when we again pick up the key of willingness. It's going to slam shut. It's going to do it. Okay, because that door is open or closed based upon your attitude. How much willingness you currently have. If the door is closed, you have no willingness at the moment. If it's open slightly, you have a little bit. If it's halfway open, you have a little bit more. If it's all the way open, that's what we're trying to achieve here. Having the door all the way open and feeling like it's okay. Because we don't know what's on the other side of that door. We haven't been down that path before. Night might be a little scary. That's why we have our sponsors. As a sponsor, I walked through that door with you to the other side. Why? Because I've done it before. Because I've done it and I know what it's like. I know how it feels. I've seen it. Maybe this all sounds mysterious and remote, something like Einstein's theory of relativity or a proposition in nuclear physics. It isn't at all. Let's look at how practical it actually is. Every man and woman who has joined AA and intends to stick with it without realizing it has already made a beginning on step 3. Yes, because step 3 is based around willingness. You are willing to do the first step. You are willing to do the second step. You are willing to go to any length. That's all we're going for here. All right? All right? Isn't it true that in all matters touching upon alcohol, each of them has decided to turn his or her life over to the care, protection, and guidance of Alcoholics Anonymous? You love your home group? Yes? There you go. Okay. Right? You did. You put, and what are we talking about here? We're talking about trust. In this case, we're talking about trust. Right? Now, What can we do in the beginning, since trust is kind of what we're using here? Because how are we going to trust others when we can't even trust ourselves yet? We got an answer for that one too. Trust the process. You can see the process happening in front of you. This is what happens with most alcoholics. This is how trust begins with alcoholics. We see it working in other people. Yeah, they'll go to a speaker meeting or something, and somebody who is a different gender, who he probably thought had an entirely different life than him, tells his story. It happens. And they're like, wow, wait a minute. I don't know that person. I know their first name. I don't even know, but I can trust the fact that they went through that and that I can do that too. Now we got something. All right. Already a willingness has been achieved to cast out one's own will and one's own ideas about the alcohol problem in favor of those suggested by AA. Any willing newcomer feels sure AA is the only safe harbor for the foundering vessel he has become. Now, if that is not turning one's will and life over to newfound providence, then what is it? All right? What is it? You just messing around with a program or something? What's going on here? Nope. See, we're trying to show you here that you already have it in you. We're trying to show you that you already have this unsuspecting inner resource in you that's going to allow you to do. All right? But suppose that instinct still cries out, and it certainly will. And it's true, it will. It's going to. All right. Yes, respecting alcohol, I guess I have to be dependent upon AA, but in all other matters, I must maintain my independence. That's because you still think alcohol is the problem. But alcohol is not the problem. You're the problem. Alcohol is the solution to your problems. All right? Maintain your independence. Your independence of what? What independence? You don't have any independence. You are totally dependent upon alcohol, upon people. See, you put your dependence in the wrong place. It's got to be put on your higher power. Nothing is going to turn me into a non-entity. If I keep turning my life and my will over to care of something or somebody else, what will become of me? I'll look like the hole in the donut. This, of course, is the process by which instinct and logic always seem to bolster egotism and so frustrate spiritual development. So it's a different form of pride. All right. We think we're either undeserving or over deserving. All right. The trouble is that this kind of thinking takes no real account of the facts. And the facts seem to be these: the more we become willing to depend upon a higher power, the more independent we actually are. Therefore, dependence, as AA practices it, is really the means of gaining true independence of the spirit. Right? Freedom. Do you want independence or do you want freedom? I want freedom, right? Because my independence has too much reliability. I'm unreliability, actually. Well, it tries to rely on other people, and people are fallible. People will fail me. I know this. It's a setup. Yeah. So those extremes that we tend to go through, right? So let's examine for a moment this idea of dependence at the level of everyday living. In this area, it's startling to discover how dependent we really are and how unconscious of that dependence. We're so dependent. Nah. Yeah, you got a little button to open your car. Yeah. You probably got a button to turn it on too. Open the trunk. Yeah, everything's automated. Now AI is going to start doing that. Yeah. See, AI will bring what'll feel like more dependence, but what it is control. That's not, dependence and control go right. And the more dependent you are upon other things, the less freedom you have, period. Okay. You got a Nest, that little thermometer that decides, or thermostat that decides, because you got a remote control, right? You have a cordless, do you have a cordless controller for your video game? There's convenience all around. And the world gets speedier and speedier and speedier. That's why you'll hear people my age say, like today, I'm like, gosh, I wish I was back in the 70s again, man. This is all just too much. All right. Anyway, so every modern house has electric wiring carrying power and light to its interior. We're delighted with the dependence. Our main hope is that nothing will ever cut off the supply of current. By so accepting our dependence upon this marvel of science, we find ourselves more independent personally. Now, if you are the person that handles the internet in the house and it goes out, well, gosh, you are the most popular person immediately, aren't you? Like you can do something about it. Like I can snap my fingers and make the internet start working again. You ever had your power go out and then you walk into the bathroom and it was dark? Yeah, see? That dependence also led to muscle memory of turning on lights, expecting the microwave to work, opening the fridge, having heat, charging your phone. All right. By so accepting our dependence upon this marvel of science, we find ourselves more independent personally. Not only are we more independent, we are more comfortable and secure. Power flows just where it is needed, silently and surely. Electricity, that strange energy so few people understand, meets our simplest daily needs and our most desperate ones too. As the polio sufferer confined to an iron lung who depends with complete trust upon a motor to keep breath and life in him. I tell you now, people nowadays understand electricity less and less. I understand how it works. They tell us how it works in school. I was an electrician and Microsoft engineer and stuff. So I understand how it works. I also understand how the internet works. Communications, telephony. I know a lot of that. Now I wouldn't be able to do it from beginning to end. See, I would still need more people. I would need help. I don't understand I understand it, but that doesn't mean I'd be able to sit down and create it. Right? And here we are again. I understand that there's a higher power, but I don't know what they look like, where they come from, or any of that. Does our higher power have a mother and father too? Or did we make mothers and fathers too? Who knows? I had this feeling that there's a lot more that we just don't know. Maybe the other life that we live is just so busy that we came here so we could be naive about what's really going on. How about that? All right. Now I'm just making stupid crap up. All right, let's read another paragraph here. But the moment our mental or emotional independence is in question, how differently we behave. Oh, suddenly when it's about us, suddenly when we are affected, now we want to do something about it. And what is this? This is about pain being the touchstone of change, right? How persistent we claim our right to decide all by ourselves just how we shall act and just how we shall think. Oh, yes, we'll weigh the pros and cons of every problem. We'll listen politely to those who would advise us, but all the decisions are to be ours alone. Nobody is going to meddle with our personal independence in such matters. Besides, we think there is no one we can surely trust. We are certain that our intelligence, backed by willpower, can rightly control our inner lives and guarantee us success in the world we live in. This brave philosophy wherein each man plays God sounds good in the speaking, but it still has to meet the acid test How well does it actually work? One good look in the mirror ought to be enough answer for any alcoholic. Yeah. And that's just the deception that we put ourselves through, thinking that we don't need other people's help when really we do. So, all right, that's gonna be it for this one. Thank you everybody for being here. I appreciate it. I love you. You know I do. Peace out and keep